It started with a phone call. Not one of those frantic, middle-of-the-night emergencies that make your heart drop into your stomach. No, this one was subtle, too subtle. A number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail. I wish I had. But curiosity, well, that's a kind of gravity, isn't it? It was a Thursday evening, just after 7. My wife, Claire, was in the kitchen chopping cilantro like her life depended on it. The kids were upstairs, their laughter echoing through the hallway. We were that kind of family, or so I believed. The screen lit up. Unknown caller. Area code was local, but not familiar. I picked it up. "Mr. Reeves?" a man asked, his voice low, hesitant. "Yes. I think we need to talk about your wife." Silence. Long enough to feel like gravity had let go and I was just floating, breathless. But before I could speak, the line clicked dead. No name. No number to redial. Just me, holding the phone like it was a grenade that hadn't finished going off. I stepped into the kitchen, my heart still stuttering in my chest. "Who was that?" Claire asked, not looking up from the cutting board. "No one," I lied. "Wrong number." She didn't press. That was the first red flag I didn't wave. In the days that followed, the subtle changes that I once dismissed as stress or routine began to crawl into focus. Her phone never left her side. Not even in the bathroom. She started sleeping with it under her pillow, said it was for her early morning alarms. I pretended to believe her. She used to hum when she cooked. Some old country tune her dad taught her. That stopped too. Silence filled the spaces where music used to live. Her eyes, they stopped meeting mine. Not in that bashful, playful way they used to. Now it was like she looked through me, like I was a wall she walked past every day. And maybe that's what I had become. A fixture. Something that belonged in the house but not in her heart. The second sign came at dinner that weekend. Our daughter, Anna, had made a drawing at school, a crayon family portrait. Claire. Me. Anna and her brother Max. Only Claire was standing a little apart from the rest of us. I teased her gently about it. "Why's mommy all the way over there, huh?" I asked. Anna shrugged. "Because she's not always with us." Claire laughed too quickly. Too sharply. And changed the subject. I used to trust silence. I used to think it meant peace. But now, the quiet in our house felt more like a prelude to a storm, heavy, waiting, dense with the unspoken. That night, I watched her from across the bed. She was turned away, scrolling her phone, a smile curling at the corner of her mouth. It wasn't for me. She didn't say goodnight. And I didn't sleep. It was a Monday. I remember that because the week hadn't even had the decency to wait until Wednesday to fall apart. I'd left work a little early. My meetings had been cancelled, and I figured I'd surprise Claire, maybe cook dinner, light a candle or two, pretend things weren't unraveling thread by thread. I still wanted to believe in us, even if the belief was costing me something I hadn't fully measured yet. The driveway was empty when I pulled up. Odd. Her car was usually there by now. The kids were at their after-school programs, so the house should have been empty. But it wasn't. The porch light was on. And the front door was unlocked. That's when the sound hit me, laughter. Two distinct male voices. One deep and confident, the other nasal, too familiar. My heart jumped once. Then twice. Then it did that thing it does when you're about to see something you can't unsee. I stepped inside. The living room was glowing with a golden afternoon hue. Claire's wine glass, the one we got in Napa on our 5th anniversary, sat half full on the coffee table. And sitting beside it, on my couch, were two men. One of them stood the second he saw me. Younger guy, slick haircut, dress shirt unbuttoned just enough to hint. Never seen him before. The other one didn't move. Just leaned back, legs crossed. Smirking. And I knew him. Travis. My best friend. The guy who stood beside me at our wedding. The man who helped me bury my father. The same man who was now sitting in my house, sipping red wine with my wife like it was just another Tuesday night. Claire stepped out from the kitchen holding a second bottle. When she saw me, she froze. Not gasped. Not panicked. Just paused. Like she'd forgotten I existed. I stared at them, then back at her. Am I interrupting something? No one answered. Did you forget I live here? I added, voice low but firm. Travis stood now, slowly, like he was weighing whether this was going to end with a conversation or fists. We were just talking, man, he said, forcing a smile. Talking? I repeated. My eyes were on Claire. That what this is? She finally spoke. You're home early. That's what you have to say. Silence. The young guy cleared his throat, awkwardly. I should go. Travis stopped him. Nah, stay. He deserves to hear it now anyway. Claire closed her eyes. Her hand trembled as she set the wine down. Then she said it. I'm not in love with you anymore. Just like that. Flat. Cold. Surgical. My ears rang. Not because I hadn't feared it, but because hearing it aloud made it real in a way suspicion never could. You brought them into our home? I asked, quietly. My voice barely carried over the sound of the wind pressing against the window panes. I needed to tell you. I just didn't know how, she said. Travis stepped forward. It just happened, man. We didn't plan it. I looked at him, then down at the floor. I thought about the nights we stayed up drinking in this room, him telling me about women he couldn't trust, about loyalty, about brotherhood. Then I punched him. Hard. Right across the jaw. He hit the floor with a thud that felt almost satisfying. He didn't fight back. Maybe he thought he deserved it. Maybe he was just a coward. Either way, I didn't care. Claire screamed my name, rushing between us. The young guy had already bolted. I stood there, chest heaving, fist aching, eyes burning. Not from rage. From the kind of betrayal that doesn't come with fireworks, just a deep, aching silence. You too, I said, my voice hoarse, you deserve each other. I grabbed my keys, turned to the door. Claire shouted after me. Wait, we need to talk. I didn't turn around. There's nothing left to say, I replied. And then I walked out of my own house for the second time in a week. But this time, I wasn't just stepping out. I was stepping away. I went back the next day. Not because I wanted to. Because I had to. There were clothes to grab. My laptop. Some documents. And the part of me that still hadn't caught up with the betrayal needed to see her, to hear her say it again. Needed to make sure it wasn't just a bad dream cooked up by anger and adrenaline. The house was too quiet when I walked in. Same smell, same light through the windows. But it wasn't home anymore. Just drywall and furniture, a crime scene in disguise. Claire was sitting at the kitchen table, alone. A mug of untouched coffee in front of her. She looked up when I entered, and for a second, I thought I saw relief flash across her face. Like maybe she believed I had come back, to fix it. To talk it out. To forgive. She didn't know me at all. Where are the kids? I asked. At my sister's, she said, her voice soft. I thought, we should talk. Now you want to talk. I never meant for it to go this far, Mark. That's rich, I muttered, tossing my keys on the counter. You brought him into my house. Our house. I walk in and find my best friend drinking my wine with my wife. That's not oops. That's war. Claire flinched. I didn't know how to tell you. Then let me guess, I cut her off. You figured, bring him over, let me catch you, and bam, problem solved. You get to blow it up without taking responsibility for lighting the fuse. She looked down. And then she said it. I haven't loved you for a long time. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was the sound of something sacred dying. I sat down across from her. You could have told me. You could have spared me this circus. I thought I could find it again, she said. With you. I tried. But you were always, somewhere else. Work, projects, ambition. I needed more. You needed Travis. I snapped. You needed the one person I trusted most outside this marriage. She didn't respond. And maybe that was the worst part. Not the anger. Not the cheating. But the indifference, the way she looked at me like I was a chapter she'd already reread too many times. I leaned in. So how long? Her eyes flickered. 6 months. I clenched my jaw. And the other guy? The one I didn't recognize? How long has he been in the rotation? Her lips parted, but no words came out. Yeah, I whispered. I saw the way he looked at you. Like he knew you too well for a stranger. She wiped her eyes. But there weren't any tears. Just the gesture, like she thought that's what someone remorseful was supposed to do. I never planned for any of this, she said again. Stop saying that, I snapped. You planned everything. You had time. You had choices. What you didn't have was decency. The coffee mug trembled slightly as she reached for it, her hands no longer steady. I made mistakes. No, I said quietly. You made decisions. That's worse. I stood up. My bag was by the door. I picked it up and turned back to face her. One day, Claire, one day you're going to sit at this same table and realize you didn't just cheat on me. You set fire to the one person who would have walked through anything for you. She didn't speak. I'm filing, I said. I already have a lawyer. You'll be served by the end of the week. Her eyes widened. Maybe she thought I'd break. That I'd hang around, orbiting her guilt like a loyal moon. Not anymore. Mark, can we? No, I interrupted. We can't. We're done. And with that, I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I left quietly. Because sometimes silence says more than 1,000 shouted curses ever could. A week after I served Claire the divorce papers, I got a message I wasn't expecting. It was from a blocked number. Just a few words. We need to talk. I'm not who you think I am. It's about Claire. I almost ignored it. Thought it was spam. But something about the timing, about everything, made me pause. So I texted back. Who is this? The reply came quick. The other guy from the house. Meet me at Hartley's Diner. Tomorrow. 8 p.m. I showed up. He was already there, sitting in a booth by the window, nursing a cup of black coffee like he hadn't slept in days. His name was Ethan, and he wasn't who I thought he was, not some random rebound, not a fling. He was her accomplice. He got right to the point. I didn't know she was married. Not at first, he said. She told me she was divorced, said her husband left her. Said he abandoned the kids. I said nothing. Just let him talk. We met at a conference in San Diego. She was networking. I was consulting for a new tech startup. She came off like this brilliant, emotionally wrecked survivor. Smart. Funny. Sad in a way that made you want to fix her. He scoffed at himself, then looked up. I fell for it. And I fell hard. I clenched my fists under the table. Look, I didn't come here for forgiveness, he said. I came here because I found out the truth. And I think you deserve to know what she's been doing behind your back. Not just cheating. Planning. That word hit me differently. He pulled out his phone and slid it across the table. A document. A scanned email thread. I started reading. It was a conversation between Claire and someone named AM Financial. And it was dated 3 months before our marriage started falling apart. They were discussing offshore accounts. Diversified assets. Property in Oregon under a trust name I didn't recognize. My mouth went dry. She told me she was being smart with her future. Said she wanted protection in case you tried to screw her over during a divorce, Ethan explained. She opened accounts in her maiden name. Transferred money slowly, from the joint account, from your savings, from her side gig you didn't even know about. She's been moving things for over a year. I stared at the screen. One email was titled Exit Plan. In it, Claire detailed a timeline. The reunion party. The slow distancing. Bringing Travis into the picture. Let him find out on his own terms, she wrote. Guilt makes men easy to manage. I couldn't breathe. She told me she was leaving you for good, Ethan said. Said you were controlling. That you didn't love her. She made me believe she was the victim. She lied to both of us, I said. He nodded. She used me. Same way she used you. But you had a family with her. I didn't. That's why I'm telling you this. I sat there for a long time after he left. Just me, a cold cup of coffee, and a heart filling up with something far worse than grief. Resolve. She didn't just cheat. She built a scheme. She planned her freedom like a prison break. Masked it with mascara and Friday night wine nights. Played the innocent. The victim. The loving wife. And now. She was going to learn what it felt like to lose something she didn't even realize she still had, my silence. Because that was over now. I spent the next morning in my truck, parked outside a Starbucks, watching a PDF load on my laptop. Claire's offshore account numbers. Transaction histories. IP addresses. All of it. Ethan had sent me everything. It felt like holding a loaded weapon. One she had no idea I now possessed. By 9 a.m., I was sitting across from Victoria Blackwell, one of the sharpest family attorneys in the state. Her office overlooked downtown, high ceilings, polished wood everywhere. The kind of place built for war, not compromise. She was in her early 40s. Calm. Deadpan. The kind of woman who could make a man bleed with 3 words and never raise her voice. So, walk me through it, she said. I did. From the reunion to the confrontation to Ethan's message. Every lie. Every email. Every dollar that had slipped through my fingers without me even knowing it. She barely blinked. When I finished, she leaned back, folded her arms. She underestimated you, she said. I nodded. And now? Now I want to make sure she pays for every inch of the mess she made, I said. She smiled. We'll start with this. She tapped her pen on the file in front of her, the beginnings of a forensic audit request. You'll freeze every joint account. Move your direct deposit to a private bank. Separate your name from any liabilities, credit cards, utilities, loans. I'll file a restraining order on the accounts today. What about the house? I asked. Who's been paying the mortgage? Mostly me. She dipped into it once or twice. Good. That helps. We'll file a temporary occupancy order. You'll keep the house. She moves out. And custody? If she's been funneling money and lying about it, that's a breach of fiduciary duty in the eyes of the court. Combine that with her infidelity and the emotional instability, we can push for full custody. Of the kids? I blinked. They're almost grown. They're still legally relevant, she said. But even if custody isn't the issue, spousal support is. She wants to play hardball, let's talk numbers. She clicked open a calculator. This offshore money? It's hidden assets. We can freeze and subpoena. She doesn't disclose them, it's contempt. She's looking at criminal penalties. The plan came together fast. Too fast. It felt like war prep. Like suiting up before a silent ambush. But that's what this was now. Claire hadn't just broken vows. She'd built an exit strategy in secret. While I was paying bills and raising kids and walking around like a man who thought he had a partner. That wasn't a betrayal. That was espionage. Back home, I opened our safe and pulled out everything the court would need: tax records, mortgage statements, old wills, the original prenup. I took pictures of her mail, scanned her bank letters, backed up her emails. I even got the password to the dummy account Ethan mentioned she used for her secret purchases, one she accessed through a hidden browser on her phone. I locked the files in a drive. I labeled it simply Claire, full disclosure. Then I changed the passwords to every shared account and called the bank. Froze everything. Left her just enough in her separate account to survive, so she couldn't cry foul in court. It wasn't revenge. It was containment. You don't let a house burn while someone's still pouring gasoline. 2 days later, Victoria served her the amended divorce notice. Claire called me, voice trembling. "What is this?" she asked. "You froze everything." I did. I can't even access the car payment account. "That's not your car anymore," I said. "It's in my name. I paid for it." "You're being cruel, Mark." "No," I said. "I'm being fair. For the first time since you decided I didn't deserve the truth." Silence. "I didn't think you'd do this," she whispered. "That's the problem, Claire. You never thought I'd fight back." I hung up. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, I slept through the night. Not because I had peace. But because I had control. The courthouse was quiet that morning. Not the kind of quiet you get in churches or libraries, but the heavy, waiting kind. Like something was about to break. And everyone could feel it. Claire walked in like she was walking onto a stage. Designer dress. Hair perfect. Calm smile like she was still holding a pair of aces in her purse. She didn't look at me. Didn't have to. Because I wasn't the man she left behind. I was the man who rebuilt himself out of the pieces she thought she'd scattered too far to ever matter again. The judge was a woman in her late 60s, seasoned, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. She spoke with the kind of clipped authority that made attorneys stand straighter. Claire's lawyer, a sleek, silver-haired gentleman named Martin Klein, started with the usual sob story. Claire had been a dedicated wife. Misunderstood. Emotionally neglected. She needed space, not punishment. And her offshore accounts? Just prudent financial planning. Victoria, my attorney, let him finish. Didn't interrupt once. When it was her turn, she stood slowly. No drama. No theatrics. Just facts. She handed over the paper trail. Every hidden transaction. Every forged signature. Every email and message Ethan had provided. And then she said something that changed the entire energy in the room. "Your Honor, my client isn't just seeking a fair divorce. He's seeking justice. Because what the respondent did wasn't just betrayal, it was premeditated fraud." Claire shifted in her seat. For the first time, she looked uncomfortable. "We called Ethan as a witness. He testified, clearly, calmly, about the offshore assets, the affair, the fake backstory Claire told him to manipulate him. He even showed the court the messages where Claire wrote, "He's passive. He'll never fight me on this." The judge read that one twice. Then she turned to Claire. "Ms. Reeves," she said, "do you have anything to say about these documents?" Claire leaned toward the mic, her voice trembling just enough to sound human. "I was scared," she said. "Mark was always working. I didn't feel safe. I thought he'd try to take everything from me. I was trying to protect myself." Victoria cut in smoothly, sliding another email across the bench. "In this message, Your Honor, she refers to my client as, and I quote, easy to outsmart. And in this one, she tells her co-conspirator to keep quiet until the funds are secure." Claire's face dropped. You could feel it in the courtroom, the shift. The unraveling. She wasn't the composed woman anymore. She was exposed. The judge recessed for lunch. When she returned, her tone was sharper. More final. "This court finds that the respondent intentionally withheld marital assets, engaged in extramarital relationships with at least 2 individuals concurrently, and attempted to mislead both the court and her spouse through false statements and concealment of financial holdings." Then came the judgment. Claire would receive no spousal support. She would forfeit her claim to the primary home. Mark would retain all assets in his name. The court would freeze the offshore accounts pending a full forensic investigation. And Claire? She was slapped with a civil penalty for attempting to defraud a legal financial declaration. Victoria whispered to me as we stood, "This is better than I expected." I nodded. But I didn't smile. There was no joy in watching someone you once loved fall apart. Only closure. The kind that doesn't come easy. The kind you earn. Claire didn't look at me as we left the courtroom. She didn't have to. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. It's strange how silence can sound different. The house is quieter now, but it doesn't echo anymore. No tension in the walls. No waiting for a phone to buzz, or a lie to be revealed. Just the soft hum of peace. A dog barking 2 houses down. The creak of a wooden step. Real sounds. Honest ones. Claire moved out 2 weeks after the ruling. She left behind the wine rack, a few photos, and one of her scarves, draped over the back of the old chair I'd always told her to hang her stuff on. I left it there for a while. Not because I missed her. But because it reminded me how little I actually knew the woman I married. Eventually, I boxed it all up. Gave what I could to Goodwill. Burned the rest in the fire pit out back. The house looks different now. Fresh paint in the hallway. Lighter. Brighter. I took down the framed quote that used to hang by the stairs, the one Claire bought at that overpriced home boutique. Replaced it with a black and white photograph of Monument Valley. Stark. Honest. American. It fits better. I had a couple old friends over last weekend. Guys I hadn't seen much in the chaos. Real ones. The ones who didn't choose sides. We grilled burgers, drank beer, and nobody mentioned her name. They didn't have to. It was understood. That chapter. It's closed. I still talk to my kids every day. My daughter is applying to grad school. My son just landed his first real job. They took the news hard, especially knowing how long the betrayal ran. But they're resilient. Smarter than I was at their age. They've seen what trust looks like when it's shattered. And maybe, just maybe, that'll help them build something stronger in their own lives. Sometimes we FaceTime during dinner. They joke that my meals look aggressively divorced. Frozen lasagna, eggs for dinner, grilled cheese with too much cheese. They're not wrong. But they also know I smile more now. Laugh more. Sleep better. I've started running again. Nothing crazy, just a few miles in the morning before the world wakes up. It clears my head. Reminds me I'm still alive. That my heart still works, even after everything. At the end of my route, there's a little coffee shop. Local. Quiet. Real beans, not the chain stuff. And lately, I've started talking to the woman who works the morning shift. Her name's Elena. Early 40s. Divorced. Owns the place with her sister. She remembers how I take my coffee. Black, no sugar. She calls it bold and honest. I call it necessary. We've had a few conversations. Nothing serious. No expectations. Just two people who've seen some life and still have some left to live. She laughs with her whole face. Doesn't wear a mask, literal or otherwise. I like that. I like her. But I'm not rushing anything. I'm not chasing healing in someone else's arms. I've learned better. Some nights, I sit out on the back porch with a glass of bourbon, watching the sky fade from orange to deep blue. There's a kind of beauty in endings. They make space for beginnings you never thought you'd get. I didn't win back the life I had. I built a better one. Slower. Quieter. Wiser. And if you're listening to this, maybe you're sitting alone in your car, or walking through your own fire, let me tell you something that took me way too long to learn. You don't lose everything when someone betrays you. You lose them. And sometimes, that's the best thing that could happen to you.